Assalamu alaikum, BS English. I hope everyone is in really good health and enjoying your weekend. Um, Today we are going to be talking about the American Renaissance. I've just uploaded the lectures on LMS. You might have gone through the slides, right? It's not really a lengthy kind of a lecture, right? I'm just going to give a brief history of the American Renaissance, that as a kind of a movement, what sort of happening was there, right? So when we talk about American Renaissance, right, it refers a time period from 1830 to the 1870, or you can talk about that it's at till the end of the Civil War. During this time period, America undergoes enormous expansions, right, of its physical makeups and great political turmoils, with the beginning of the Civil War as well. It is also a time that defined what it meant to be an American, and firmly established the American voice in literature. Obviously, they got rid of those British colonizers. Sorry, they got rid of them, and then they were a kind of independent country. So obviously, they were of the view that they wanted to cement their place. They wanted to solidify themselves, that what it is meant to be an American, right? So what actually happened, that when we talk about Renaissance, as the Renaissance which started in the Europe, right, in 1500, was a kind of a rebirth or a celebration of its culture. And an explosion of creativity in the art and humanities. So too was the American Renaissance, in which writers or painters and musicians, they created stories, songs and poems that would help to define the American ideal. um, it is during that time period that America began to move away from its Revolutionary War roots, and became an established world power. Established world power in a sense that, there were also technological advances in form of factories and industries. The coming of the railroads and the telegraph system that began to move America away from pure agriculture society to up to a next level. Um, when we talk about American Renaissance, right, one of the primary ideal in literature during that time comes in the form of Romanticism, right? As it started in England as well in 1824, so it started in the America in 1830s as well. Um, it championed the exploration of the private self, right, as just as important as the exploration of the land. Writers, they describe the individual quest for a self-definition, which means that, they preferred imaginations over reasons, they preferred feelings over facts, and nature above all. They talked about nature, that is going to be above all. When thinking of historical context, right, these ideas began to make sense, as they sought to remove themselves from the strict structure ideas of their Puritan English forefathers. America saw a tremendous flowering of literature, right, in that American Renaissance as well. Um, American Renaissance, it changed that when the writers began to publish some of their writings in artistic way. Um, there are many authors during American Renaissance, but when you talk about one of the only one which is considered to be the father of American literature, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Walt Whitman, and Henry David Thoreau. These three people, they influenced American Renaissance a lot. It renewed national self-confidence, culture, and the culture had a strong influence. In changing and shaping the American Renaissance. Most of the American literature masterpieces were produced specifically in this era. We'll be talking about these masterpieces as well, because I'm going to be talking in details that what Transcendentalism is, and according to Transcendentalism, what were the famous works of Ralph Waldo Emerson, Walt Whitman, and some other writers as well. Um, the authors of this time were taking less influence from both political and religious affiliations, right, and trying to gain a new identity and use a culture and personal influence to project in their literature, which means that, like, they put religion at a side, right? They wanted to come up with the new ideas, right? They wanted to gain a new identity and a use of culture, right? During this period, a new nation had politically gained its independence at this time. So religion also had less influence, and the literary works at this time, due to the fact that the new nation were trying to reinvent and redesign their own particular style, right? So they were trying to, you will see in some of the works, like, when you study those works, inshallah, ahead, a couple of essays and short stories I'm going to recommend, and then you're going to go through it, you will come to know that, yes, like, it really reinvented and redesigned the new particular style for those Americans. There was one very special moment along with the Romanticism, is the Transcendentalism. I'm just going to give you a small definition of it, and then we'll discuss in detail as a philosophy and as a movement in next classes, right? It was Transcendentalism was particularly interesting in the nature world, and its relation to humanity, right? The Transcendentalists, they also believed that if they explore the nature, right, they will come to know themselves, and also through the human spirit, it reflects the nature. So that was the small kind of talk about the American Renaissance, the special features, the characteristics, right, the important writers, and now what actually happened in American Renaissance, like, the writers, what they wrote, and what work they did. We're going to be discussing those works, right? And then we're going to be discussing about the Romanticism, that who were the writers who wrote in Romanticism, what is the dark Romanticism, right? And who were the writers there as well. So inshallah, we'll be talking these sort of things in the next class. Stay blessed. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.